welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a look at some of the week's most compelling sources, articles, bits of research, and really pull out the key insights for you.
Yeah, the goal is basically to give you that shortcut to being genuinely well-informed, without feeling buried in information.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into a great collection of articles from our colleagues right here at Addis Fortune, Ethiopia's largest English weekly newspaper. We've gone through the latest editions, pulled out what jumped out at us, and we're ready to share a journey that covers, well, quite a bit.
It really does. We're talking local economic policy, city challenges like traffic, but also these big global shifts in tech and climate.
And even some deeply personal stories about connection and legacy.
Right. And what's fascinating, I think, about looking at Addis Fortune is how these Ethiopian stories, they actually shed light on much bigger sort of universal themes.
Absolutely. So we're here to help you connect those dots, get that knowledge quickly, and hopefully leave you with some really impactful takeaways.
Do it.
Okay, first up, let's unpack this big topic. There's a real tangible buzz in Ethiopia's financial sector right now. You see banks scrambling, really rushing to set up investment banking arms.
Yeah, and it's all sparked by two big things. The new Ethiopian Securities Exchange, the ESX, and also the Ethiopian Capital Market Authority, ECMA. Both kicked off in 2023.
It sounds like a massive opportunity, doesn't it? Like a real gold rush moment for finance here.
It does. On the surface, it absolutely looks like that. But the article we looked at sounds a strong note of caution almost immediately.
Oh, how so?
Well, it argues this whole dash for profit, it actually threatens to magnify the very fragilities regulators hope capital markets will soothe.
Magnify fragilities. Okay, what kind of fragilities are we talking about?
Well, think about the existing banking scene. It's often described as cozy and inward-looking. They're already struggling with the national bank's 5 billion birr paid-up capital requirement. That's, the minimum capital they need to hold.
Right, that's a big number.
It is. And then you've got non-performing loans. The average was 4.1% in 2023-24, which is creaking worryingly close to that 5% ceiling.
So more loans going bad.
Exactly. And all this is happening while inflation is just stuck around 20% year on year.
Yeah.
These aren't small issues. They're pretty fundamental challenges already there.
Okay, so the foundation has some cracks. And it's not just about the money, is it? The article mentions a big talent gap.
Oh, absolutely. This could be a major destabilizing factor. Get this. Ethiopia has fewer than 200 professionals with real hands-on experience in key areas like, say, underwriting or corporate finance advisory.
200? That sounds incredibly low.
It is. Compare that to Nigeria, over 10,000.
Yeah.
Or Kenya, thousands. And Kenya's population is roughly half of Ethiopia's.
Wow. Okay, so what's the risk there?
Well, the article warns, and this really jumped out at me, this shortage could tempt banks to cut corners.
Right.
It even brings up the triple exposure risk. Remember that? The kind of thing that helped bring down Wall Street giants back in, 2008?
I do. That interconnected risk where everything fails together, that's a serious warning for a market just starting out.
It's a very sobering historical lesson, yeah.
So why the rush then? If the risks are there, why is everyone piling into investment banking?
Good question. Part of it is market saturation in traditional banking. Private banks' loan-to-deposit ratios are over 80%.
Meaning they've lent out most of their deposits already.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
There's just not much room left for traditional lending growth. Competition is fierce too, over 30 banks fighting for business, and inflation eats away at profits.
Okay, so investment banking looks like a way out, a new revenue stream.
Exactly. A lucrative escape, as the article puts it. Advisory fees, typically 2 to 3% of a deal's value. Even a modest 1 billion birr deal could bring in up to 30 million birr. That's significant income.
I see. And there's probably prestige involved too, being first.
Definitely. For the big players, like the Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, CB manages, 1.43 trillion birr in assets. Being an early mover brings prestige, political influence, the works.
So, given these risks, what are the proposed solutions? How can Ethiopia navigate this?
The article lays out a few ideas. Things like consortium models, where mid-tier banks could maybe pool their capital and talent together.
Makes sense. Share the burden, share the expertise.
Right. Also, maybe raising the entry bar with higher capital requirements, applying strict group-wide prudential ratios, ensuring solid governance structures.
And what about that talent gap?
Crucially, the article stresses the need for real training in universities, within the banks themselves, not just this constant cycle of poaching scarce talent from each other, which just doesn't actually grow the pool.
So building capacity from the ground up.
Precisely. And that puts huge pressure on the new regulator Isamere and its head, Hunter Tehiklu.
Yeah.
They're overseeing this brand new market. And the article sums it up starkly. Dreams should bow to reality. Capital is scarce. Skills are scarcer. Oversight is, well, embryonic.
So the choices made now are critical.
Absolutely fundamental. Will it be a solid foundation? Or will today's glitter, as the article says, become tomorrow's grit? It's about the future stability of the whole economy, really.
Glitter versus grit. That really sticks with you. A reminder that big ambitions need solid ground beneath them. And speaking of daily realities and maybe shaky ground, let's switch gears completely. From high finance to something incredibly visible, a daily struggle for millions, traffic in Addis Ababa.
Oh, the gridlock. Yeah, the article paints such a vivid picture. That pre-dawn ritual, the motionless motion, it really does feel like mobility itself has become a kind of metaphor for governance.
I think anyone who's ever been stuck in major traffic, anywhere in the world, can relate to that feeling of helplessness, thinking surely there's a better way.
And the cost is just staggering. Addis Fortune's reporting really quantifies it. Traffic steals time more efficiently than any pickpocket.
That's a good line.
Isn't it? It costs the city somewhere between roughly 700 million and 800 million birr every year, and peak time speeds, barely 10 kilometers an hour. Crawling.
Just crawling. And think about the impact on people's lives.
Immense. Only 17% of jobs are reachable within an hour by public transport, just 15% on foot. For Ethiopia's capital, the heart of the AU, it's a serious drag on everything. Productivity, connection, daily life.
It's this strange paradox the article points out, too. Addis has, around 630,000 vehicles, and Ethiopia overall maybe 1.2 to 1.4 million cars for over 100 million people.
Right. Some of the lowest car ownership rates globally.
Yet the congestion is among the worst. So the takeaway isn't simply too many cars.
No, not at all. The article points squarely at poor road design, weak enforcement of traffic rules, or maybe inconsistent enforcement is better, and just this systemic neglect of pedestrians and cyclists.
So infrastructure and management issues.
Primarily. And past big projects haven't quite delivered the fix. Remember the light rail transit? Launched a decade ago, big symbol of modernity.
Yeah, I remember the launch.
Well, now only 19 of its 41 train sets are actually running. It's serving way below its capacity. The article calls it a monument to siloed planning. Lack of integrated thinking, basically.
Ouch. And then there are the buses.
You've got the city-owned M-Besa buses struggling to meet demand, and then the private minibuses, essential, definitely, but often part of the chaos with their, let's say, erratic service.
Right. And now there's a push for electric vehicles.
Yes, cleaning up the air is the goal. But again, the article makes this crucial point. An electric jam is still a jam.
True.
Clean tailpipes do not clear clogged lanes. It really hits home to the core problems, planning, infrastructure, how people use the roads. They run deeper than just the type of engine.
It's about the system, not just the vehicles within it.
Exactly. And the article frames it powerfully. Congestion isn't just an annoyance. It's a daily referendum on governance.
Wow. A daily referendum.
Yeah. It suggests infrastructure often appears designed for show rather than for service, and citizens are left forced to make do with broken systems. There's this line about promise is right above while collapse lurks below.
That's a really stark image. It paints a picture of this gap between official narratives and lived reality.
It really does. A powerful critique of how city planning, or lack thereof, reflects broader issues.
Okay, from broken systems on the ground, let's zoom out again. Beyond national borders, thinking about how global dynamics are changing, especially in AI and climate action.
Right. So traditionally, AI has been seen as, hard power, this race for artificial general intelligence, AGI, dominated by a few tech giants, a few superpowers.
Usual suspects.
The usual suspects. But the article suggests that view is now incomplete and increasingly outdated.
Oh, what's changing?
Well, a key moment seems to have been earlier this year. A Chinese developer, DeepSeek, launched this lower-cost but high-performing AI model. And that apparently kicked off a wave of open-source innovation. It showed that the old bigger's better model isn't the only way forward in AI.
Interesting. So breaking the mold.
Yeah. DeepSeek's even been called the Robin Hood of AI democratization. It's leading to this more multipolar AI landscape. You've got players like Alibaba, Moonshot AI in China, Sakana AI in Japan, Meta in the US. It's becoming more diverse, more accessible.
Democratization of AI, that's a significant shift. The article also mentions that current chatbots giving, say, 70-point answers aren't good enough for industry needing 99-point precision.
Yeah.
What's the implication there?
It suggests a move beyond just general chatbots towards highly specific, reliable AI applications. Things where trust is absolutely paramount.
Right, which leads to this idea of sovereign AI.
Exactly. And sovereign AI isn't just about a country making its own AI tools being self-sufficient. It's also about building AI soft power.
Soft power, how does that work with AI?
By creating AI models that other countries want to adopt voluntarily. It reduces dependence on foreign tech, avoids worries about hidden kill switches, that sort of thing.
Okay, so building trust is key.
Absolutely. And trustworthy AI, in this context, goes beyond just fixing bias or preventing data leaks, though those are important. It's fundamentally about creating AI that genuinely enhances human potential, systems that governments and businesses and people embrace because they see them as truly beneficial and reliable.
That's a much broader definition of trust. Okay, let's pivot slightly to climate leadership. The article notes a rapid decline of the West's dominance in global climate governance.
Yeah, it points to the U.S. becoming more isolationist, especially with the possibility of a second Trump term and the EU maybe growing a bit more timid on the global stage.
So a potential power vacuum.
Or perhaps an opportunity. It raises this really important question. Can the Global South now step up and make sure the international agenda really reflects its priorities?
And what are those priorities, traditionally?
Well, the article reminds us of Indira Gandhi's famous line from 1972, "Poverty is the worst form of pollution." That highlights this long-standing link between development and environmental concerns from the Global South's perspective.
Right. Development first.
And we're seeing shifts.
Yeah.
China is described as the undisputed global leader in green tech, way ahead in deploying renewables. And you've got momentum from the BRICS plus countries.
Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, plus the new members.
Exactly. Brazil's presidency, South Africa pushing initiatives at the G20 for things like debt relief linked to green industrialization. This collective action could really reshape things.
So all eyes on COP30 in Belém, Brazil.
It looks like a critical moment, yeah. The Global South seems genuinely well-positioned to push for a more equitable, more inclusive, clean energy transition.
If they can align climate goals with development needs.
The world could see a real shift, a new center of gravity in climate governance. It's a hopeful outlook, but definitely challenging too.
Absolutely. Okay, from those global shifts, let's bring it back closer to home, regionally, to the Horn of Africa. The article describes the region as being at a hinge moment.
Yeah, facing this stark choice. Either retreat behind borders, fragment further, or try to, quote, ride out the storm together through cooperation.
And the costs of not cooperating sound pretty severe.
They are. Addis Fortune details the alarming costs of fragmentation. Things like constant border tensions, regulatory mismatches that just kill trade, this deep lack of trust between neighbors.
And people leaving.
And young people leaving in droves, looking for opportunities elsewhere. The argument is that disunity basically turns the Horn into a strategic chessboard for outside powers to play on. No single country can really thrive alone in that environment.
So regional integration isn't just a nice idea, it's essential.
It's becoming, as the article suggests, a complex but necessary calculus for actual survival and prosperity.
But Djibouti is presented as taking a different path.
Yes, a path of radical openness, dialogue, trying to connect the region. They want to be a catalyst for cooperation, hosting peace talks, laying fiber optic cables, keeping their ports open to everyone.
And they're proposing concrete steps, too.
Yeah, this really caught my eye. Initiatives like an Artist Center for Regional Mediation and Peace, and an annual forum on security, peace, and cooperation. Kind of like a Davos for peace for the region.
A Davos for peace. I like that. Trying to get ahead of crises.
Exactly, and it's based on clear principles. Neutrality as a duty, stability as a shared regional good, and pushing for African solutions to African challenges. The core message is powerful. Unity should no longer be a mere slogan, but the only viable security policy. It's about shifting from being seen as a powder keg to becoming a collective powerhouse.
Transforming the narrative through cooperation. Now, sticking with the region, but shifting to culture and identity. There's this really poignant observation in one article.
The school bags. Yes.
Yeah. Seeing kids' school bags covered in Hollywood superheroes, and the writer noting, not one bag reflected our heritage. It's quite stark, isn't it?
It really is. A simple visual, but it speaks volumes about cultural influence.
Yeah.
And the article argues the consequences are profound, even if subtle.
How so?
it creates this void in kids' sense of self-worth. It sends this quiet message that maybe African stories, Ethiopian stories, don't really belong on that global stage. It can diminish cultural pride.
That's a heavy thought, but there are signs of change.
Definitely encouraging signs. Obviously, globally, there was Marvel's Black Panther, which was huge. But crucially, the article highlights Ethiopian comic companies stepping up, like Eaton Comics.
Eaton Comics. Tell me more.
They've created characters like Jember, proudly called Ethiopia's first superhero, and Howie, a female hero inspired by the Aksumite Empire.
Fantastic. Local heroes drawing on local history.
Exactly. There's also a Pan-African sci-fi series called Zeus of An, which even tackles difficult history like the Italian invasion. And digital stuff too, like the ETN ecosystem using NFTs to embed cultural identity.
Wow. And are these stories reaching people?
They're being translated into multiple languages already. It shows that local culture, when told authentically and with creativity, really does have universal appeal.
That's so important.
It really is. The article concludes that these African heroes need to move beyond just, occasional headlines. They need to become part of the everyday imagination of children.
Building that pride from a young age.
Fostering pride, inspiring future generations. That question, who shapes the heroes our children grow up with? It's one Africa is now really starting to answer for itself, moving from consumer to creator.
From consumer to creator, a powerful shift. And speaking of shaping futures and inspiration, sometimes the biggest impact isn't from superheroes or grand policies, but from individual lives.
Absolutely. Addis Fortune shared this beautiful story this week about a European mentor, he's in his 90s now, who has lived in Ethiopia for over 60 years.
60 years? Wow.
Yeah, and his life is described as just quiet generosity. He learned Amharic, immersed himself in the history, and just consistently poured kindness into the lives of the poor, the homeless, orphans.
Without seeking any spotlight.
Without seeking recognition, is how the article puts it. His real wealth wasn't in things, but in the lives he touched. He never married, never had his own kids, just gave himself to others.
That's quite a life. And the story takes a turn.
A very poignant one. Now he's frail, he's ill, and he finds himself surrounded by this incredible network of care.
From the people he helped.
From the very people he helped over all those decades. His own brother, who is doctor, tends to him without any payment, just out of deep respect for this man who became like a father figure to so many.
Incredibly moving.
It really is. The article frames it perfectly. Kindness never dies. It multiplies. His investments, you see, weren't in stocks or property. They were in people.
And now that investment is paying dividends, in a way.
A harvest of care, exactly. Devotion, connection. It's like the past echoing back into the present.
What a profound lesson.
The article spells it out. If you want security, give. If you want companionship, give. If you want to be remembered, give. The people he helped, they call him Father now. And there's no shame in this exchange, only grace, because his kindness genuinely came full circle.
Only grace. That's beautiful, a testament to the power of compassion.
Truly, a reminder that what you put out there, it does come back, often when you need it most.
Okay, before we wrap up this deep dive, just a couple of quick, interesting facts we pulled from Addis Fortune that caught our attention.
Right, those little nuggets.
Did you know the Ministry of Health bought 517 ambulances from Moenko? That's a big local auto distributor, just last year, 2023. The value was over 609 million birr.
Wow, 517 ambulances. That's a serious investment in public health infrastructure. Shows a clear priority there.
Definitely. And this quote really stood out, too, from Professor Mesfin Araya. He's a commissioner with the National Dialogue Commission.
Okay.
He told Fana Broadcasting, "Next to God, I worship Ethiopia."
Wow. That's intense.
Isn't it? Elevating the nation to this almost sacred second place really shows a deep, deep sense of national devotion.
A powerful statement for sure.
So what a journey today, really. We went from the complexities of Ethiopia's new capital markets
and the daily frustrations of Addis traffic
to the global AI race and shifting climate leadership.
The search for unity in the Horn, the rise of local superheroes,
and ending with that incredibly moving story about kindness coming full circle.
It covers so much ground, but hopefully it gives you, our listeners, that shortcut to being informed, maybe sparks a few aha moments. That's always our aim.
Absolutely.
And I think this dive into Addis Fortune really underscores something, doesn't it? Whether we're talking big policy, city life, global trends, or just individual actions. Mm-hmm. It's intentional action that defines progress and connection.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with more insights from the sources that truly matter.